The crash and the bunker asterisk in the cold silence of deep space. Stars shined like tiny lights in the dark. Suddenly, a loud explosion broke the peace. A large spaceship was on fire, spinning out of control. It had been attacked. Inside the ship, alarms were ringing, red lights flashed, people were screaming. One man ran through the hallway. His name was Ethan Cole, a 28-year-old engineer from Earth. He was wearing a torn spacesuit and blood dripped from his forehead. Escape pod. He shouted to himself. The ship was falling apart. Ethan jumped inside a small pod and pressed the emergency button. The pod launched into space just before the ship exploded behind him. He looked back through the small window. Everything was gone. Everyone was gone. Now he was alone. The pod shook as it entered a planet's atmosphere. Fire burned outside. Ethan held the seat tight. A loud crash echoed as the pod hit the ground. Dust and smoke filled the air. Ethan opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt. His oxygen level was dropping. The pod was broken. He had to find shelter fast. He stepped out into a strange world. The sky was purple. The ground was covered in black. Rocks and glowing plants. Two suns shined weakly in the sky. He had never seen a planet like this. Ethan walked carefully, his boots sinking slightly into the soft ground. He saw something in the distance, a metal door half buried under sand and rock. It looked old, but strong. A bunker, with his last bit of energy. He reached the door and pressed a panel beside it. A green light blinked, and the door slowly opened with a deep creaking sound. Inside, it was dark and cold. He used the flashlight on his suit to look around. The walls were made of strong metal. Strange symbols were painted everywhere. He didn't understand the language. The bunker was silent. Dust floated in the air. He walked deeper inside. There were broken machines, metal crates, and empty bottles. It looked like no one had been here for years. Ethan found a corner and sat down. He removed his helmet and took a deep breath. The air was thin but breathable. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten in almost a day. He had no food. No water. "I won't last long," he whispered to himself. Suddenly, his flashlight caught something. A large metal pod stood in the corner of the room. It was tall and round, with glass on one side. Wires ran into it. The glass was foggy, but Ethan saw a figure inside. It was a girl. Not human. She had glowing blue skin, long white hair, and a soft face. Her eyes were closed, like she was sleeping. Small tubes were connected to her arms. Ethan stared, confused. What the hell is this place? The pod blinked with a soft blue light. Then, without warning, the girl's eyes opened. Ethan jumped back, heart racing. The girl looked at him with glowing, calm eyes. She placed her hand on the glass. Slowly, she sat up inside the pod. The pod opened with a hiss, and a cool mist filled the room. The alien girl stepped out. She was weak. Her legs trembled. She tried to speak, but her voice was soft and broken. Ethan raised his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you." The girl looked at him, confused but not afraid. She placed her hand on his chest gently, then pointed to his wounds. Her hand glowed faintly. Suddenly, Ethan felt a warm energy. The pain in his side started to fade. His skin began to close, healing slowly. He looked at her, shocked. "How did you do that?" She didn't answer. Instead, she sat on the floor, breathing slowly. Her body looked tired. Then she made a motion, pointing to her chest, then his mouth, as if offering something. Ethan didn't understand. She made the motion again, slower. Then he noticed something. Her body was producing a faint, glowing liquid from her chest. "No way, Ethan whispered. "That's milk?" He was starving, weak, sick. He hesitated. Was this safe? The girl looked at him kindly and nodded. She didn't speak his language, but her eyes said, "Trust me." Ethan drank carefully. The milk was warm, sweet, and full of energy. Within minutes, his mind felt clearer. His body felt stronger. He looked at her with new respect and fear. "Who are you?" She smiled, but gave no answer. She simply drew a strange symbol on the dusty floor. Ethan didn't recognize it, but something about it made him feel cold. It looked dangerous. Then she sat back down, eyes heavy, and went to sleep. Ethan sat beside her, staring at the symbol on the ground. He was not alone. He was not safe. And this was not just a bunker. This was the beginning of something far bigger. The bunker was quiet, but Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat against the cold metal wall, staring at the strange symbol the alien girl had drawn in the dust. It was sharp like a blade and curved like a snake. Something about it made his skin crawl. The girl, the alien, was asleep, curled up beside the pod that once held her. Her soft breathing was the only sound in the dark. The faint glow from her skin lit the room in a calm bluish light. Ethan had many questions. Who was she? Why was she here? And why did her milk have the power to heal and give life? His body still tingled from the warmth it gave. It was not normal. It was not human. But it had saved him. He stood and began exploring more of the bunker. Maybe it had food, water, a clue. He moved slowly, careful not to wake her. The next room was filled with old computers, screens covered in dust. Strange alien letters blinked on one screen. Still working after all these years. He wiped the screen and pressed a few buttons. A voice spoke suddenly, not in English, but robotic and cold. The sound made his heart jump. A log appeared. Test subject, Lyra. Status, escaped. Lyra. Ethan whispered that it was her name. He read more, or tried to. Most of it was in a language he didn't know. But a few words were in English, probably added by human researchers long ago. Subject shows regenerative properties. Nutrient-rich biofluid. Potential weapon or cure. Dangerous if uncontrolled. A chill ran down his spine. She wasn't just an alien. She was a test subject. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps behind him. Ethan turned. Lyra stood in the doorway. She looked sleepy, but her eyes were focused on the screen. She walked forward slowly, staring at her name. Then, without a word, she touched the screen gently and wiped it clean with a glowing pulse from her hand. Lyra, Ethan said softly. Is that your name? She looked at him, then nodded once. Ethan smiled kindly. I'm Ethan. She didn't respond, but her eyes softened. He pointed to the symbol she had drawn earlier. What is this? What does it mean? Lyra hesitated. Then, with her finger, she drew it again, slower this time. After drawing the last curve, she tapped it twice and then pointed to herself. And then to the sky above. Your people? Ethan asked. She nodded. Then she crossed her arms over her chest, miming fear. Her hands shook. Ethan understood. You're hiding from them. She nodded again. A tear rolled down her glowing cheek. Ethan stepped closer. Why are they hunting you? Lyra looked at him, her expression serious. She reached out and touched his forehead. A soft glow entered his mind, and suddenly he saw images. Visions. A bright alien city. Scientists in white. A lab. Humans in cages. Lyra breaking the glass to set them free. Running. Alarms. Ships chasing her. Explosions. Pain. Then silence. Ethan gasped and stepped back. The vision ended. He looked at her with wide eyes. You helped humans? He asked. Lyra said nothing, but her face said yes. Ethan sat down, trying to understand everything. She had escaped her people, saved others, and now she was here, stuck in a bunker, with him. Suddenly, the ground shook slightly. A low hum filled the air. Lyra turned her head sharply. She moved to the wall and placed her hand on it. Her eyes widened. What is it? Ethan asked. She pointed upward, then made a shape with her fingers, like a small machine flying in the air. A drone? She nodded. Ethan ran to the pod room and looked through the cracks above. A small black flying drone passed overhead, smooth, round, with blinking red lights. It was scanning the area. Lyra grabbed his arm and pulled him into the shadows. She looked truly afraid now. They waited in silence as the drone hovered, then moved away slowly. They found you, didn't they? Ethan whispered. Lyra didn't respond. Instead, she did something strange. She knelt down and held her hand out to him. Then she placed it on her chest, over her heart. She looked at him with calm eyes, but they were full of warning. Ethan understood. He needed her to survive. But now she needed him too. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was a deal. A silent promise between two beings from different worlds. Stay hidden, stay alive, and never let them find her. But deep in the bunker, something had already awakened. And far above, in the sky, a signal was sent. Not a rescue, not a greeting, but a hunt. The silence was heavier now. Ethan couldn't sleep. He watched Lyra from across the room. She sat by the cold wall, legs crossed, eyes closed, her soft blue glow the only light in the bunker. But she wasn't resting. She was listening, watching. Every few minutes her eyes would snap open. Her head would turn, as if she heard something Ethan couldn't. Are they coming? He whispered. Lyra slowly shook her head, then pointed downward. She pressed her hand to the floor. She wasn't listening to the sky anymore. She was listening to what was buried below. In the morning, or whatever passed as morning on this strange planet, Ethan began exploring the bunker again. The food rations were long gone. Only dust and decay remained, but there was a door. He hadn't opened yet, half rusted, half buried behind crates. He pulled the crates away, grunting. Lyra watched him carefully, her face unreadable. With a sharp push, the door creaked open. Cold air rushed out. A dark hallway led into the earth. Looks like someone didn't want this part found. Ethan muttered. He entered, flashlight in hand. The hallway dipped lower, the air growing colder. Pipes lined the walls. Some were cracked. Some leaked glowing green fluid. He stepped into a large room. And froze. Skeletons. 3 human skeletons in broken suits sat slumped against the far wall. Tools lay beside them. One held a rusted metal box, a communication unit. Ethan crouched near them. They tried to call for help. He opened the box carefully. Inside, wires and circuits. A small, cracked screen blinked faintly. Still alive. Still working. Ethan smiled. I can fix this. But then he saw something else. A wall of old video logs, tapes, hard drives. Labels in both English and alien script. He picked up one. The label read, Experiment 37, Human Compatibility with Subject L Biofluid. His hands went cold. More tapes. More words like, harvesting process, acceleration chamber, cross-species trial, failed. Lyra walked into the room behind him. She saw the skeletons, the tapes, and her body tensed. She shook her head slowly, then raised her hand and made a small X over her heart. Like a sign of sorrow, of mourning. You didn't know, Ethan said softly. You didn't know humans were tested here. She nodded. A single tear dropped from her eye. He turned the communication device on. The screen blinked. Static filled the room. Emergency frequency 0411. A voice crackled. If anyone is alive, send coordinates. Lyra stepped back, alarmed. It's Earth, Ethan said. My people, they're out there. But Lyra's eyes were full of fear. She pointed to the device, then to the sky. Then drew the symbol from before, the same enemy mark. They'll hear it too? Ethan asked. She nodded. Ethan sat back. If I send the signal, Earth may find me, but your people will find you too. He looked at her. She looked at him. Two survivors. One message that could save or destroy them both. That night, Ethan sat with the communicator in his lap. Lyra sat across from him, her face calm but tired. I don't know what to do, he said. She pointed to herself, then to him. Then, placed both hands together. He nodded. Then slowly, carefully, he typed the message. This is Ethan Cole, human, trapped on alien planet, survivor, location, unknown. Requesting help. One warning, we are not alone here. He paused. Then sent it. The device buzzed. The signal launched into the dark sky, through clouds and stars. It was done. Nothing could stop it now. Ethan sighed. Now we wait. But before he could speak again, the bunker lights flickered. The air grew heavier. From deep below, where no doors had opened, came a sharp, grinding sound. A door unlocking, slowly. After years of silence, Lyra stood up quickly. Her glow brightened. Her face turned pale. Ethan grabbed a metal pipe. What's down there? He asked. Lyra said nothing, but then she whispered her first full sentence in English. They put more than me in this place. The air was no longer quiet. There was a sound, soft, low, like metal breathing. The bunker's walls shivered. Ethan stood still, pipe in hand, eyes locked on the dark hallway below. It had opened by itself, no switches, no pressure plates, just an ancient grinding sound that whispered one thing. Something was awake. Behind him. Lyra pressed both hands to the floor. Her glow dimmed, her mouth moved, but no words came. She was whispering to the stone. Then she looked up, slowly, carefully, and backed away. Lyra, Ethan said. She didn't speak. She didn't blink. She just pointed downward and made a sign. Across her chest, the same one she used for the dead humans in the last room. Something not dead was down there. Ethan wanted to close the door, seal it, forget it ever opened. But curiosity was a poison. He crept closer. The hallway below led to a different kind of room, not broken and rusted, but clean. Cold white lights still worked. Machines blinked, alive after years. And in the center of the room was a second pod, bigger than Lyra's, darker, covered in frost. Something was inside it. Ethan stepped closer. His breath fogged the air. The glass was thick. He rubbed it. Red eyes opened from the inside. Ethan jumped back. The creature inside looked like Lyra, but twisted. Its skin was black and cracked like burned stone. Its body was full of scars. Tubes ran through its arms, and its mouth was covered by a mask. It looked at Ethan and smiled. Suddenly the pod hissed, unlocking. Lyra! Ethan shouted, running back. Lyra was already there. She had grabbed a long rod from the wall. A tool, maybe a weapon. She shook her head violently. No, she said. We run. Ethan had never heard fear in her voice before. Now he did. As they ran back up, alarms began to hum, not loud, but low and vibrating, like an animal growling in its sleep. Ethan slammed the hatch shut. Lyra placed her hand on it, and her glow surged. The metal hissed and melted around the edges. Sealed, she whispered, but not for long. Hours passed. They didn't speak, just sat close, watching the door. Lyra's glow stayed dark. Her skin looked tired, dim. Ethan opened a small ration pack. The last one. He handed it to her. She shook her head and pushed it back to him. No, he said. You needed more. She smiled, weakly. Then something strange happened. A soft beeping. Ethan looked at the communicator. The light was blinking. Someone had received the signal. He pressed a button. A voice came through. Fate, crackling. Survivor Ethan Cole, we hear you. Rescue ship en route. Estimated time, 12 hours. He closed his eyes. We're going home. But Lyra didn't smile. She pointed to herself. then crossed her wrists. They wouldn't take her. Of course they will, Ethan said. You saved my life. You're not a threat. But Lyra just looked away. Then the sound returned. Boom. 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 It wasn't coming from the pod room. It was coming from above. Ethan ran to the crack in the ceiling and looked up. In the purple sky, something black was falling. A large shadow, silent, smooth, fast. Then he saw it. A ship, shaped like a claw, landing not far from the bunker. It wasn't Earth. It was them. Lyra backed against the wall, shaking her head. She knew the design. She knew the sound. Her people, or something worse, had found her. Ethan grabbed her hand. We go now. But Lyra stopped him. She stepped forward, pulled up her sleeve, and showed him her arm. There was a glowing mark. A brand, same shape as the symbol she'd drawn. Then she pressed her hand to his chest. My kind will take you. Hurt you, use you, she said. He shook his head. Not if you're with me. She looked at him, her eyes full of something he hadn't seen before. Not fear, not pain, but love. A different kind of survival was forming between them. Now. Suddenly. Crash. The ceiling split open. A sharp, snake-like machine dropped in, scanning the room with red beams. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, arms wide. The machine aimed its weapon, and she screamed, not in fear, but in a high, ringing tone. A sound only. Machines could hear. The scanner twitched. Sparks flew. It shut down. Ethan gasped. What was that? She fell to her knees. The scream had taken her strength. Outside, more shadows landed, more machines, more eyes. The hunt had truly begun. Blood and metal dripped from the ceiling. The scanner drone lay dead on the floor, smoke rising from its cracked shell. Its red eye faded to black. The silence afterward was not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that came before something worse. Lyra didn't move. She lay on the cold floor, shaking. Her blue glow had turned pale white. Ethan dropped beside her and held her up. Hey, stay with me, okay? You saved us, again. Her lips parted. A whisper came out, soft like a falling feather. Not saved, just delayed. Then she passed out. Ethan carried her back to the pod room. He placed her down gently, wrapped in his jacket. Her skin felt cold. Her chest rose and fell slowly, like a dying candle flame. He looked around. They couldn't run. They couldn't fight. And she wouldn't survive much longer without rest or answers. He needed to understand who she really was, what she was running from, and why she was so important that both humans and aliens wanted her dead or captured. That's when he noticed. In the corner of the room, behind a fallen crate, was a small cube, glowing faintly with the same light as Lyra's skin. Not a weapon, not a bomb, a memory crystal. Ethan had seen something like it before, in Lyra's earlier vision. She used it to show him flashes of her past. He walked over and touched it. Nothing happened. He brought it to Lyra, gently placing it in her hand. Her fingers closed around it on instinct. A soft light blinked. A pulse of energy wrapped around. Both of them. Ethan gasped. His eyes glazed over, and he fell into her memory. Suddenly, he was inside her world. Bright skies. Towers of silver. Flying machines shaped like wings. He saw Lyra, younger, dressed in a white uniform, standing among scientists. She was not a prisoner. She was one of them. Then he saw cages. Humans, men, women, even children, locked behind. Glass walls, weak and sick. A voice echoed in the air. The milk is purest in fear. The human response is strongest under stress. He saw Lyra's eyes, angry, afraid. She broke the cages. She turned on her own people. She ran, carrying a child in her arms, a small boy with earth-blue eyes. Then, fire, betrayal, pain, trial. Her sentence, eternal silence, locked away in a pot on a dead planet, because she had loved the humans, because she had become too much like them, Ethan fell out of the vision with a jolt. He was back in the bunker, sweating, shaking. She saved us. Long before she met me, he whispered. Lyra opened her eyes. You saw it, she said softly. He nodded. You were one of them. But you changed. I became something else. Better, Ethan said. You became better. She smiled faintly. They won't forgive that. Ethan stood. Let them come. Let Earth come. I'm done running. Lyra looked at him, sadness in her eyes. You're not one of them anymore. Not to them. Before he could answer, the communicator buzzed. A new voice came through. Not robotic, not alien, but human, sharp and commanding. This is Commander Rhodes of the Earth Recovery Force. Ethan Cole, we have your signal. We will extract you in 6 hours. Confirm survival status and alien presence. Ethan pressed the mic. I'm alive, he said. Pause. And so is she. Her name is Lyra. She's not the enemy. A long silence. Understood. Extraction will proceed. Stand by. But Ethan didn't feel safe. He looked at Lyra. They're coming, he said. But I don't know who they're coming for, me or you. Lyra touched his face gently. Maybe neither. Outside, the alien ship that had landed earlier powered up again. Its engines glowed black-red. Another drone slithered out, scanning the ground. But this one didn't head for the bunker. It headed into the hills, looking for something else. Something bigger, deep underground. The sealed door Ethan and Lyra had closed in Part 4. Shuttered. It was no longer locked, and something with 2 hearts. And one mind was waking up inside. The sky was burning gold. From the cracked bunker roof, Ethan watched the Earthship descend. It was large, flat, and shaped like a blade. The engines hummed low, like a deep voice whispering through the mountains. It was here. Rescue. Finally. He turned to Lyra, who stood in the shadows behind him. Her face was calm, but her eyes flickered with quiet dread. They won't hurt you, Ethan said softly. I'll make sure. Lyra didn't answer. She looked up at the ship, not with hope, but with the same fear she had shown when the alien drones came. Not all enemies have claws. Some wear familiar colors. The Earthship landed with a hard hiss. Dust blew across the rocky plain. The ramp opened with a metallic groan. 4 soldiers stepped out, all in black suits marked with a blue Earth emblem, helmets on. Guns ready. Then one man followed, no helmet. Cold eyes. Commander Rhodes. Ethan walked forward, hands raised. I'm Ethan Cole, survivor. This is the alien I told you about. Her name is Lyra. She saved me. Commander Rhodes didn't blink. He looked at Lyra. You're injured, he said to Ethan. We'll get you medical help. Let's go. Ethan hesitated. She's coming with me. Rhodes turned to him slowly. I'm afraid she's not part of the extraction protocol. She's not a threat, Ethan insisted. She's not like the others. That's what she wants you to think, Rhodes said. You've been down here too long. You're not thinking clearly. She risked her life to protect me. She didn't run. She didn't attack. Rhodes took a step forward. She's alien, unknown. That's enough. Then he snapped his fingers. The soldiers raised their weapons. Lyra stepped back, her glow fading. Her hands stayed at her sides. She wouldn't fight. Ethan stepped in front of her. If you want to take her, you'll have to shoot me first. Rhodes gave him a long, hard look, then sighed. You've changed, Cole. He lowered his voice. You know what alien biofluid like hers is worth back home. Do you have any idea what people would pay for that kind of healing tech? Ethan froze. This isn't about rescue, he said quietly. No, Rhodes said. It never was. Before Ethan could speak again, gunfire echoed. Not from the soldiers. From behind them. Something leapt from the hills, a creature. Fast and long, with sharp black limbs and glowing red veins. One of the sealed experiments had escaped. The soldiers turned, opened fire. The creature didn't slow. Chaos erupted. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Now! They ran into the rocks behind the bunker while the battle raged. 2 soldiers fell. One screamed. Rhodes shouted into his comms. Code Black. Biohazard breach. Ethan and Lyra ducked behind a ridge. They could still hear the fight. But the sounds were growing distant. Ethan looked at her. Are you okay? Lyra nodded. One of many. Still coming. Night fell. The Earthship was still on the ground, but fires burned around it. Ethan had a choice. Go back to Earth, sell out Lyra, and be safe. Or vanish into the wild with her, and never be welcome home again. He sat beside her, hands shaking. I always thought Earth would save me, he said. But maybe I didn't need saving. Lyra looked at him. Then slowly, she held out her hand and placed it on his heart. A soft blue pulse flowed into his skin. What are you doing? He asked. Her voice was faint. Marking you. For what? Her eyes met his. For staying. Back at the ship, Rhodes stood alone. Blood on his face. Soldiers dead. The creature had vanished, but he knew this wasn't over. He looked up at the stars and spoke into his cum. Target not recovered. Human compromised. Alien asset escaped. Proceed to Phase 2, a voice replied coldly. Permission. Granted. Behind him, the Earthship began changing shape. Metal bent. Plates shifted. The ship was not just a ship. It was a hunter too, and it was now locked on Ethan and Lyra. The stars were falling. At least, that's how it looked from the cliffs. Dozens of lights streaked across the purple sky, like shooting stars, but they weren't stars. They were drones. Small, fast, silent. They spread across the planet like seeds, all searching for the same thing. A human who had gone rogue, and an alien who should never have been born free. Ethan and Lyra watched from the edge of a canyon. The Earthship still burned in the distance. The black hills below held their secrets in silence. Lyra sat beside Ethan, weak but glowing gently. Her hand rested in his. You marked me, Ethan said softly. What does that mean? Lyra looked at him with sad eyes. You're no longer just human. Ethan didn't flinch. Good. I don't want to be like them anymore. Hours passed. They took shelter in a small cave under the rocks. No tech, no signal. Just silence. Ethan pulled a damaged drone from his backpack. He had stolen it during the battle. I'm going to send them a new message, he said. Lyra frowned. Danger. Yes, but this time. The message isn't a call for rescue. It's a warning. He opened the drone and began rewiring it. They think you're just a resource. A tool, something to use or kill. But I've seen what you are. Who you are. He looked at her. And I want them to hear it. From me. By morning, the drone hovered over the canyon. Ethan pressed record. This is Ethan Cole, if you're hearing this, I'm probably already gone. But before you bury the truth, know this. The alien you're hunting saved my life. Not just my body, but my soul. She showed me what Earth lost. Kindness, sacrifice, beauty without power. If she's your enemy, then I don't want to be your hero. We are not alone in the universe. But maybe we were never supposed to be. He looked at Lyra. She nodded once. Then the drone flew upward, signal blinking, heading toward the stars. But Earth wasn't the only one watching. The hunter ship had found them. Without sound, without fire, it landed behind the hills, its skin shifting, rippling, revealing black legs and a wide mouth full of cables. It wasn't just a ship. It was alive. Ethan and Lyra ran. The ship gave chase. Rocks shattered. Behind them, dust filled the sky. The ground shook with every step of the machine. A beam fired, missing them by inches. They dove behind a boulder. Ethan pulled out a small energy cell, salvaged from the pod room. Can this shut it down? He asked. Lyra shook her head. only from inside. Ethan nodded slowly. Then stood. I'll do it. Lyra's hand caught his. No, she said. You live. He turned to her. Only if you do too. He placed the energy cell in her hand, then stepped away. Together, they ran straight toward the ship. The machine's sensors locked onto them. Too late. Ethan leapt forward, drawing fire, pulling its attention. Lyra climbed its side with speed and grace. She moved like light, soft, but unstoppable. She reached the top, pulled open a vent. And dropped the energy cell inside. A bright blue light pulsed from the center of the ship. Then silence. The machine froze. Its red lights blinked once and died. Smoke rose from the metal beast. Ethan staggered to his feet, coughing. Lyra! He shouted. No answer. He climbed onto the wreckage, heart racing. Then a faint glow. Her hand, reaching out from the smoke, he pulled her into his arms. She was alive. Barely. Her eyes fluttered open. Did we win? She whispered. Ethan smiled, tears in his eyes. We survived. That's enough. Weeks later, a signal reached Earth's orbit. The drone. It played Ethan's voice to a room full of silent officials. No one spoke. The message ended, and the screen faded to black. Back on the alien planet, under a new dawn, Ethan and Lyra stood beside a small ship buried in the sand, a forgotten escape pod from decades ago. He looked at her. Ready? Lyra took his hand. Together. The pod rose slowly, breaking through the clouds. Behind them, the planet fell quiet once more. But far in the sky, two stars burned close, and somewhere in a distant future, a child would be born with blue fire in her veins. And the strength of both worlds